Maido, hi there, Japan fans. In today's show, we're going to talk about podcasts. Present, Master Shimasho. This is the 5th year of the Presentation Japan Series podcast. We are beaming around the world to you from sunny Minato-ku in Tokyo. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, your corporate coaching and training guide committed to your success, the president of Dale Carnegie Training Tokyo, Japan, and the 3-time best-selling author of Japan Sales Mastery, Japan Business Mastery, and Japan Presentations Mastery. My new book, in Japanese, Za Eigyo, is now available on Amazon. Become a better speaker who is clear, confident, persuasive, and highly influential with those around you. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, and colleagues. We are not being sponsored by Libsyn, but we value your privacy, which is why we have our podcast hosted by Libsyn, who, unlike many other podcast hosts, have a strict policy that does not allow access to your private information by anyone. Here is our daily podcast lineup on iTunes. Mondays, the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show. Tuesdays, the Presentations Japan Series. Every second Tuesday, the Business Tatsujin no Oshie Show. Wednesdays, the Sales Japan Series. Thursdays, the Leadership Japan Series. Every second Thursday, the Business Pro Podcast Show. Fridays, the Japan Business Mastery Show, and Saturdays, Japan's top business interviews. This is episode number 290. Today we're talking about how to be effective during podcast interviews. We think of our presentations as something we give to an audience physically in the room with us, or, these days, maybe to an audience trapped in tiny little boxes on the computer screen. Media interviews come up rarely for most business people. This medium requires a very specialized skill set to do it properly. Amateur business leaders up against the pros from the ranks of journalists rarely go well for the great unwashed. Yet, many business people are getting interviewed by podcast hosts who are also not professionals. These are usually never gotcha style interviews, but they are still going to be shared with a global audience. Remember, every time we present, we are putting our personal and professional brands on display. How can we approach these presentations we'll give on podcast shows? Here are some ideas to think about. Before the podcast, number 1, research the podcaster. Who are they? What have they done? Why are they doing this podcast? The guest on the podcast supplies the IP, intellectual property, for the podcast host most of the time. They may be knowledgeable about the area under discussion, but usually we are on the show because we are the expert. Number 2, what is the configuration of the show? Is there only one host or are there multiple hosts? This will make the research component more important to know who you are dealing with. Number 3, what is the style of the show? We must listen to previous episodes to get some idea of how they approach their guests, what types of questions they ask, and how they conduct the show. Are they a good listener? Do they constantly interrupt and redirect the questions? I personally don't like watching Howard Stern's shows because he constantly interrupts his guests, which, as the audience, I find very annoying. Number 4, is it audio only or video and audio? Increasingly, podcasts are using both mediums. Knowing this helps us to decide what image we want to project and how we should dress for the interview. If the podcast host is always casually dressed, should we match them? I believe we need to decide what is our brand look and dress accordingly. In my case, my brand is always professional, which means suit, tie, French cuff shirts, cufflinks, wristwatch, and pocket chief. I don't care how the host dresses because their brand is their decision. Number 5, do they supply the list of questions beforehand? This is a good idea, although if they always ask the same questions, you can get the idea from watching their shows before you do the podcast. Number 6, how will they distribute the podcast? Do we have 100% editorial control over what goes out or not? Most podcasts are using some platform which will broadcast the interview globally, so we have to understand our brand will potentially be viewed by tens of thousands of people over time. Find out more when we come back from the break. Our show today is brought to you by our public programs, but we also do custom-made in-house classes. Now, we do them in our super safe classroom, we do them live online, and we do them in Japanese, and we do them in English. Now, today's show is being brought to you by, on the 28th of May, we'll be doing our professional education, ongoing education series. On the 14th of June, we'll be doing our next previews. On the 17th of June, we'll be doing our Dale Carnegie course. That's the brilliant Dale Carnegie course, 12-week long, the main modules. Excellent program, confidence, leadership, presentation skills, got the works. On the 24th of June, we'll be doing some more previews. Again, on the 25th of June, we'll be doing our Dale Carnegie course. Check out our website at www.Dale, D-A-L-E, Carnegie, C-A-R-N-E-G-I-E, .co.jp. Lots and lots of value for you there. Now, to do better in Japan, email me at greg.story@dalecarnegie.com. Get my best-selling books, Japan Sales Mastery, that's the Bible for selling in Japan, and Japan Business Mastery, and my new book, Japan Presentations Mastery. If you like learning by watching videos, there are over 1,000 there for you at Tokyo, Japan, Dale Carnegie TV on YouTube. We release 3 TV shows every week on YouTube. The Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, which is the premier business show in Japan, comes out Mondays. Fridays, the Japan Business Mastery Show, and Saturdays, Japan's top business interviews, where I interview leaders in Japan from SMEs all the way up to the corporate captains of industry on one topic, leading in Japan. Every second Thursday, we release the Business Pro Television Show. Don't forget, you can email me at greg.story@dalecarnegie.com. Welcome back. During the interview, number 7, when we do media training, we are told to keep our answers brief on the presumption we will get ourselves into less trouble by keeping it brief. Unethical journalists have a nasty preference for cutting up our comments and then rearranging them against pre-recorded questions. We can be taken out of context, and now we are sounding controversial. The media industry has learnt that controversial sells. Podcasts, however, are a long-form show that usually lasts around an hour. The temptation is to speak in long bursts because you have the time. We can speak in long bursts if what we are saying is high quality and we want to communicate a complex thought. If we're just rambling on because we can, then that is a brand value destroyer. Number 8, we shouldn't feel any pressure to answer the question immediately. Everything can be edited. So if you take a long pause, then the editor will just cut that bit out because they won't like the long silence. Take your time and think about your answer. If you don't like your answer, then just say you don't like it and then do it again. Number 9, if the show is being videoed, then avoid having to look at your notes for the interview if you can. It makes us look less professional and not in command of our topic. If we want to consult our notes, then we can do that off camera and make sure that bit will be edited out later. Number 10, don't look at the camera if it is a video plus audio. Keep looking at the host and engage with them. We can look at the camera at the start and finish when the host is engaging directly with the audience, but apart from that, keep your attention on the interviewer. Switching your gaze from the host to the camera and back to the host breaks your connection with the audience and looks like you're nervous and not quite sure where you should be looking. After the interview, number 11, get a copy of the interview, either audio or both video and audio, and check the content to make sure you're happy with it. If you are umming and ahhing during the show, then don't worry about that and expect all this will be cut out. This is the natural you, the way you speak, so your audience will accept that. If it is a problem, then there's a hint for you to get some training to improve as a communicator. Number 12, a lot of shows are weekly, which means they have to have a stock of shows up their sleeve so that they are never running out of content. This means it could be sometime before your show airs. Find out roughly when it will be released so you can coordinate your own promotion activities. Number 13, ask for the links to the show so that you can blast it out to your own social media, website, etc. when it is released. 14, if you have your own podcast, ask for the edited file and then add in your own introduction and release it as an episode for your own show. Number 15, get a photograph of the host and pump this out into your social media, etc. as a teaser for the coming release of the episode. These 15 points will be a good starting point to consider before you accept any requests for podcast interviews. Podcasts are a good media to promote our own personal and professional brands, and we should always be looking for ways to do that. Thank you for joining the Presentations Japan series. If you got value from today's show, spread the love around and share it with your family, friends, and colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. Immediately apply what you have learned today, use it, and go out there and become a presentations legend. Remember, I'm your corporate coaching and training guy in your corner, committed to your success here in Nippon.